Okay, guys, quiet down. Is this where we left off?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So basically, you have canal construction blossoming. States and individuals, monopolies were granted to private companies. Happens today with cable. Began to be a race between all the states in the north and west, not really in the south, over who could get the best access. And when things happen like the Ohio Canal opening in 1833, made it possible to connect Cleveland on Lake Erie to Portsmouth on the Ohio River, which meant that a merchant in New York City, all he had to do was go up the Hudson River, hit the Erie Canal, take Lake Erie over to Cleveland, take Cleveland down to Portsmouth, take the Ohio River to the Mississippi River, and bada bing, bada boom. He's gone all the way around the United States. Now this wasn't, guys, canals were not cheap. They cost as much as $20,000 to $30,000 a mile to build. But a careful investor could make a 15 to 20% return on his investment. But guys, the good times don't last long. By 1840, most of these companies had gone bankrupt, and the Pennsylvania government, which had invested huge in their whole transportation system, they got into a debt of $34 million by 1842, and basically to pay it off, they had to suspend payments to everything else and pass harsh taxes. Everybody got it? Yeah, the top. Now guys, we also have the introduction of steam power. Now the Greeks had actually come up with steam, or discovered steam power, that did a little toy, but Robert Fulton actually made a steam engine that was small enough and powerful enough to power a boat. And Henry Shreve, in 1816, he basically set the platform for the wide boats that would ply the American rivers with paddle wheels, which made upstream travel economical. It used to cost you a penny and a half a mile to get stuff down the Mississippi. Now that rate is reduced to half a cent. To go upstream, it used to cost you 10 cents, but now it only costs you less than half a cent, because you're not using any more power going down than you are going up. Guys, this is incredible. And you have new vessels coming out, each with more and more advances in technology, making the price of shipping as well as the time go down. And the price of the technology itself. Guys, does that seem to make sense that new items cost less than older items that are better? Well, it used to be, guys, if you remember in your school classrooms, you probably haven't had an Apple IIe, maybe, which was an old dusty computer that sat in the back. Nobody ever played with it. If anybody did turn it on, it had two colors, black or green, on the monitor. But when that came out in '84, it was totally new. You got the monitor, you got the CPU, you got the keyboard, you got the printer for $5,000. Guys, today you could buy a computer that could run circles around it for just $500. Okay? So advances in technology they're a great bargain in bringing down the prices. What's the effect of this on agriculture? Guys, this is pushing American agriculture deeper into the hinterlands than ever before. So you have an expansion of the production of cotton in the south as well as foodstuffs in the west. Everybody got it? Now, of course, the inland cities are jealous of the cities that are near water and can take advantage of it. And you start to have the development of the steam-powered railroad by Robert Stephenson over in England. Basically, he builds an engine that'll power a locomotive. Now, y'all know how steam power works, right? You have a container, a boiler that holds the water. Underneath that, you have a fire Usually it's heated by coal that causes the heat up, and it causes the water to boil and turn into steam, which is creating huge pressure. And when you open a valve and release the steam, that's what pushes and drives down your pistons and serves everything. Well, Robert Stephenson created the first steam-powered locomotive, and it's so funny, his investors are there, the guys that gave him money to develop this thing, and when he's ready to unveil it, to light the fire, to get everything started, he forgot his matches. Now, guys, what did he turn to fix it when he didn't have any matches? And let's see, 4 people in this class could have done it. Anybody know? Glasses. Basically, he took off his glasses and created the focal point of sunlight that caused the heat that started the coal on fire. Well, by 1828, the Baltimore and Ohio, or the B&O for all you people that play Monopoly, was formed, and they were going to give a chance on this risky new technology to see if it actually worked for their lines. Well, they hired Peter Cooper to build the first locomotive built in North America, called the Tom Thumb. Well, they get it up and they get it started, and guys, at its top speed, even though it had to work up to this, it was going 8 to 13 miles an hour. Woo! Which, of course, made Cooper boast that his railroad could carry cars just as fast as a horse, carrying the same amount of cargo. And they said, okay, Peter, you're on. So they held a race in August of 1830. Oh, and by the way, guys, it was a good thing that he was only going 13 miles an hour, because people had figured out back then that if you went 40 miles an hour, the force of air coming into your body would cause your lungs to burst. They proved that. So don't drive over 40 miles an hour with your mouth open, I guess. Well, guys, the horse won. The horse, of course, won. And because of that, the Baltimore and Ohio, they pretty much abandoned steam power. Be very expensive. But that's not the last we've heard of locomotives. Indeed, South Carolina, they got a grant to build a 136-mile-long mail line from Hamburg to Charlottesville. And the reason why they got the money for it is because the federal government's in charge for the mail, so they got the money. Well, guys, when you're on a steam engine, you've got to make stops to put on more water, to replace that which was steamed away, as well as to pick up like sand, which they'd keep in boxes by the front wheels. And if they were going up a hill or downhill and they needed traction for either to maintain their speed up the hill or to stop, they'd use sand on the rails. And basically, as they'd stop at each of these stations, they noticed that people wanted to ride to the next station. So, basically, they would let the people on, they'd charge them money, and they noted that they were making more money off of the passenger trade than they were on the mail. And of course, usually they'd put the people who like to see things right behind the railroad, and the mail car would be back here. And they started, taking a lot of passengers, making a lot of money this way. Well, does metal like to bend? How many people here have ever broken a wire coat hanger? What do? Have you done it by bending it? You bend it back and forth. And if you feel that part that's being bent, it's like really hot until it finally snaps. Why? Metal likes to stay in place. It doesn't like to move. It's not very malleable. So when you've got this steam building up under pressure, basically that pressure is so great, it's making that metal expand. And then when you release the pressure, when you open up the valves, that's reducing the tension on the metal. So it's bending this whole time, and if you don't replace your boilers, it's going to explode. Or if it's a poorly made boiler, it'll explode as well. Which is what happened, killing and injuring some of the people, but more importantly, it damaged some of the mail.